As mentioned in I think it was the previous video, I thought I'd share what's on the table here. It would appear no thing, and that actually is true. I can offer you Reiki healing by distance, 2 and 3 card tarot card readings. There's also the befriending service if you're struggling with life. That's another option for you. But within the community on this land, there is far more, and take you on a little tour. So we've got a few things still in pots, tomato plant there, some more there. This pepper and the one behind were started from seed. More tomato plants. And there's various things down there, zucchini, melons, potatoes. There's a lot more to be done. The pit has got 1 watermelon in it at the moment, and got carrots, and yet more tomatoes and kale. At present it's trying to reactivate the soil, so it's creating raised beds. And watering is done with bottles. This is the second tank. This supplies all the water by immersing a plastic bottle, and of course you get a few insects and things and leaves that fall in. So the often quoted saying, and also the title of this video, well, any insects that go in that water that then get tipped around the bases of any of the plants, you could say in a sort of indirect way, through a natural process, that if you're living in an environment like this, you do end up eating the bugs, and being happy and not owning anything. So it's not even resisting the sort of message that was put out, as it were. I haven't put it in the description, but I have mentioned it on videos before, that it's a nominal charge for any befriending, being the ear that listens to what you say, your circumstances, and then offering you a different perspective, a way of seeing things in a different way. So my vision for this is to extend raised beds both sides here for growing, and flowers. That the plan eventually is to have beehives here as well, all the way, if you sort of follow the finger, sort of going round the corner there, all the way down near the creek, and all this here that goes back quite a way, and there's more land on the other side of the road. So there's plenty of space here, there's plenty of potential here. So there's an open invitation, as I've said before, if you wish to come and sample off-grid living, and maybe just take a week out, or a couple of weeks, just to sample what it's like, and a complete break from that crazy outside world. It's a very different way of being. After all, are you not a human being by its very definition? Even if you're just sitting and contemplating things, you are being, and you're also doing. You may be creating in thought, you may be visioning and things. For example, today I got up at 8 o'clock this morning, and I've only really, it's now sort of around, I think it's nearer midday. I've done maybe 1 hour, just over an hour of going around cutting back some bramble in places where it's starting to sort of grow again, which of course makes a long-term composting mulch, or it is pretty good stuff for as a fire lighter as well. Just leave it to bake in the sun, it dries out. The thorns are still lethal, so you have to be careful how you handle it. One of the perils of being here, and I was only thinking this morning it would be lovely to get far more productivity going, even things like making heavy duty gloves for things like thorns and thistles, because the thistles are actually worse than the thorns, because they don't last long when you buy these things. They wear through fairly quickly because there's such a thing as planned obsolescence. It's the perfect business model because they want you to keep coming back for more and more and more. That's actually something else I wanted to talk about as well, the subject of who are they. I hear a lot of mention of they are doing this to us and they are doing that to us. Well, the theme of walking a spiritual path is taking personal responsibility and accountability for your thoughts, words and actions. So yes, there are scripts continuously being offered, usually very deceptive, and it's all with the purpose of divide and conquer, to encourage you to pick a side, to defend a concept. So you start wondering, well, why are you defending a concept? How does it actually affect you directly? So who are the they that are doing things? Really, I mean, if you think about it, how is a war operated? It requires human beings to actually participate. All these things require human beings. A gun, for example, any sort of weapons, they're inanimate. They won't do anything unless there's a human being that's actually picked them up and using them. And while that carries on, it will just keep perpetuating, which is ridiculous. So the answer from that is clear, and as I said on the previous video, it's like in this song. When will humanity ever learn to be able to lay down and sleep next to one another? And you may be culturally different, you may have different views on things, but if you can't have the trust in those around you, and you're always having to keep one eye open in case you're going to be attacked or robbed, it's never going to work like that. But the other option, of course, from the system is they have a way which I feel they've introduced really quite effectively from 2020 onwards, although it's obviously been going on a lot longer than that. They certainly have a way of getting humanity to lay down next to each other and not fight. It's because they're corpses. So there's that option as well for some, but you're never going to be able to change people's minds. It has to come from within them to be open to the ideas and things of, well, take for example the Middle East. Have you ever known a time where there has not been conflict? And why is it all focused on that particular area? It's absolutely crazy. Why does it keep happening? Well, I've already outlined the reason it keeps happening, because it's all by coercion, by taking scripts, belief systems, in that particular case, it's normally centered around religion. But then when you start seeing, it's such a thing that I've also talked about, where you set up for yourself a win-win situation. So, for example, the example I used was if it rains the next day, I won't make a video and I'll do something else, but then I'll make the video when it stops raining. So you're setting up a win-win. You're giving yourself options rather than I'm definitely doing this, and then something that is out of your control, i.e. the weather, will stop you doing what you wish to do. So give yourself lots of options. It's the same when you're in a retrograde period. Annie Botticelli spoke about this. I listened to one of her videos yesterday, and the retrograde season, it can be good when it's Mercury retrograde for short-term things, rather than trying to launch long-term things. So maybe that's why I've put out this invitation before we get to, I think it's the 17th of July when it goes, I think it's Mercury retrograde starts again. I forget now, but I don't use astrology or tarot for prediction. I use it more for confirmation of how I feel inside. Always go with your intuition. Use your intuition, imagination, and empathy. They are the key things, and do things that are benevolent. Do things that will not cause harm to another, but will help another. So, for example, I'm here to serve. So if you're struggling, or you wish to sample an alternative way of living that doesn't have all the more negative and less pleasant aspects of daily life, it's a completely different setup where working towards growing your own food, for example, there is a certain amount of work you're putting in, but who are you putting it in for? Ultimately, you're putting it in for yourself. And nature provides everything. So the saying is, don't give me a shit. Well, I'm going to say the opposite. I'm going to say, if you do come here, I want you to give me your shit, because it'll go in the compost and it'll help rejuvenate more of the soil, which will then produce more crops and things. It adds a whole new meaning to what's that shit you're smoking as well, if you get my drift on that one. But you've only got to look at the way nature works and go with that. Even growing allotments, gardening in general, has deliberately been made to imply that it's hard work and it's not a pleasure. But again, it's perception. You put in you do as much as you feel you want to do. There's no pressure. There's no got to do this or got to do that. Okay, in the event of things like with the community seating area, it got blown off. So it's like, well, that becomes a priority item that needs doing. I mean, it would be lovely to get more water storage tanks. That would make a big difference, but there's only so much that can be done when there's really sort of just one in the community, as it were. But there's huge potential. I mean, this was just a bank, and then using the rocks that are here, make a retaining wall, and there's a bed for tomatoes. It's simple things like this. And what I imagine must have been a swing seat at one time. It's like, oh, well, that can stay where it is, and it will become a sort of frame for tomato plants or something. There's carrots, tomatoes, kale, and onion in there. I really need to spread out or thin out the carrots, but it's preparing deep enough ground for such things. But the saying is Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was Eden. It was it 6 days if you take it as a literal story. So even that wasn't done in one day. So the offers are there, the invitations are there. If you wish mentorship, the befriending service, or a tarot card, pulling a tarot card, giving you a reading, anything like that, all I ask is a minimum donation of €5, $5 or £5 sterling, or more if you feel you can. But I mean, this is not about making myself rich, because the wealth is in completely different ways, and my expenses are pretty low. I try and keep them low, because the time factor is completely different. My laundry I do completely by hand. I find it very therapeutic. It's not a chore at all, and this is a perfect environment. You can wash something and within 2 or 3 hours it's dry. It's the only thing it does cost you is time, but that is your true currency anyway. It's how you spend your time. That is what you're spending. Once you've spent that time, you can't get it back. But it's amazing how many people do try and chase time, and do worry about losing time, and do try and create time. Well, time in the linear sense just goes, it doesn't change. Although strangely here it's like, where does the time go? You don't have to do a lot, and before you know it, it's another day over. But then there's always another day to come, and depending on what the weather's like, then decides what can be done. Obviously, if it's up in the 40s, then it's too hot to be doing anything, and the idea is not to come here to a place like this and kill yourself in the process by overworking and dehydrating, or from exhaustion. But again, it would come down to personal responsibility and accountability with all this sort of thing. So the offer's there for those that wish to sample this life. Located in the Algarve in Portugal, in a remote setting, which I would like to hope that it will be the first of many similar places. It would be fantastic if there was another community like that will be set up here, to be set up within, I don't know, maybe an hour away from here. There's plenty of land. I'm not sure what the situation is across there, but as far as I know, that's still up for sale, going very cheap. So the invitation's there, but don't all have the synchronised thoughts, and don't want 20,000 people turning up here at once, because that would be, can't cope with this. That would be too much. Haven't got enough chairs or cups to go round, you see. So I'm going to say unconditional love to you all, until the next video.